And welcome back to What If. Today for our one-shot What If, we have from Shang Sun. What if Godzilla was in Magic the Gathering? Now we have to look at this as several factors. One, technically he is already in Magic the Gathering. That's what the whole Ikoria Godzilla art was for. Or the Godzilla, which I have a bunch of those because I know a lot of people kind of crapped on the whole Godzilla novelty thing for to sell more cards in the collector's box and all that. Screw you. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I think it's a lot of fun when they do that, particularly because they're just doing it in the collector's packs and encourages people to get the collector's packs or to at least just buy the cards individually just for the cool art. I'm pissed I didn't get Ghidorah though. I wanted Ghidorah. Did I get Space Godzilla? No, I got Space Godzilla. I got Biollante and I got King Caesar. I did not get any of the other big three, unfortunately. I digress though. So with that said, what would the scenario be for Godzilla? Well, not the scenario. How would Magic the Gathering work with Godzilla in it? Well, there's two ways you gotta look at it. One from the obvious factor, and B from the idea that we have a little fun with it. So let's look at the obvious one first, and then we'll have some fun. The obvious one first is that Godzilla does not play a factor in the main story of the MCU at all. Or MCU, MTG, the Magic the Gathering universe at all, because Godzilla is stuck on whatever plane he's stuck on. Now, is Godzilla just a part of another plane like Ikoria? Or, which would probably be the one that makes the most sense for him to be in. Or is Godzilla in a different plane? Is like the Godzilla world itself a plane in Magic the Gathering? To which case we then gotta say, is there any way they can influence the other planes outside of their own? Because there's so many, when you go into the games and stuff like that, people are, they're hyperversal and universal. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't try to argue that very much, mostly because even if it's true, that's a separate continuity of Godzilla altogether. How strong is Godzilla? Like, is Godzilla universal? For example, is Godzilla multiversal, universal, whatever? Godzilla universal in power? Is universal level? Okay, let's ask that question. Is there a multiversal level of Godzilla in the from was it Kiora? If you were to composite Godzilla, he'd be multiversal, and it was confirmed to be so, as he killed a platonic manifestation of God. Low ballers say otherwise with their evidence. So apparently there is, in fact, a multiversal version of Godzilla out there. So, okay, that's totally fair, I suppose. Most versions of Godzilla are not that strong. Most of your movie versions are not that strong. If not all of your movie versions are not that strong. I could go so far as to say the strongest movie version of Godzilla you have is at best solar system and singularity busting, which is still impressive by power standards, but is not a universal threat or anything like that. But yeah, even if it exists in like the Godzilla continuity, which continuity are you talking about? Legendaries, Heisei's, Showas, the anime, which one singular point, which version of Godzilla are you talking about? So let's just say that Godzilla and maybe a cavalcade of his other kaiju cohorts exist in one of the planes of the multiverse. Let's say Ikoria. From what we can tell from a powers perspective, first off, Godzilla is probably the largest and most dangerous creature on that plane. And in terms of raw power, I don't think any creature would be able to compete with him, even if they mutated like 10 times over. The issue comes with Godzilla versus magical capabilities. That's where things get a little gray, a bit of a gray area. Because magic's like the one thing we never see really used in the Godzilla series at all. It's usually science, technology, or just the abilities of a species. So I don't know how Godzilla himself would fare against magic. I do know that you would not be able to muster up any spell powerful enough in terms of power to probably beat him in straight power. You'd have to suddenly subvert him and maybe put him to sleep. In fact, maybe that's the trick for people of Ikoria to deal with him. They can't kill him. They just got to keep him in slumber for the longest time. So maybe that's how Godzilla's dealt with on his plane. And every once in a while he wakes up and deals with a threat, or, just goes on a rampage, however he's in the mood for. But that's the boring thing. The fun thing is, what if Godzilla were a planeswalker? Well, if Godzilla were a planeswalker brought forth by, in theory, nuclear explosion, or whatever the magical equivalent of that is, planes walked away, Godzilla probably would be content not even planeswalking most of the time. And his planeswalking, when he disappears, probably just looks like he goes, swims through the blind eternities. So he probably just looks like something going into the water again. But Godzilla most of the time would probably be okay with just, doing his thing and being like, whatever, I don't care about these guys. These guys are so annoying. Atomic breath, whatever. But there are keys moments where multiple planeswalkers, like large groups of planeswalkers, are together. And one of the big ones is the War of the Spark. Now, I note that in War of the Spark, there apparently were actually a lot of planeswalkers that we briefly meet and that die. Like there was an elf planeswalker. I think there was like a bird person planeswalker that was killed by the Eternals. But we really never see many planeswalkers outside of humanoids, like straight humanoids. The closest we've had is Nicol Bolas and Ugin as dragons. And yeah, actually, that's really it. Humanoids. And most of them are just straight human. We do have a demon-esque one in Nyxlis. There's obviously elves. There's a vampire in Sorin. There's a minotaur one. And I'm just quickly going after that. There's a moonfolk in Tamiyo. But other than that, and there was a satyr in Xenagos. He's dead. And whatever Ashiok is. But they're all humanoids. What I would love, and I brought it up before, about planeswalkers, and a lot of people have actually brought it up, that we need some non-humanoid planeswalkers in the mix. The exact specifications on how to be a planeswalker still aren't exactly clear even to this day. There's a general set of criteria, including being a sentient living being, so no elementals or artificial creatures. Karn has one because he was given a spark. So no, nothing like that. And apparently it does need to have a level of sentience to you. And allegedly you need to be a mage. Now I call bullshit on the mage thing. I don't see why you would need to be a mage. That doesn't make any sense. I can imagine anyone could be, like, for instance, Gideon's not an actual mage. He's a soldier that has some magical ability, but he's not a mage. And things along those lines, I don't get that. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a Centaur planeswalker. We know that we've had a Sphinx planeswalker. It's just he's never had a card as a planeswalker with Asperia. Not Asperia. Oh crap. I am blanking on the one that was an Ixalan. He's the one who basically created the Eternal Sun. I'd love to see, just some, or at least some other humanoid species that we have not. A Naga planeswalker would be cool. I mean, we did have the Drow planeswalker, or the Drider planeswalker in Forgotten Realms. So, I mean, it's very possible to do this. And Godzilla, honestly, he technically is humanoid in shape. When you really break it down. I mean, what would he really be? He's just an extra large Vashino, really. Or just a dragon. But he's got enough intelligence to be able to planeswalk. So the thing would be in War of the Spark, when what I'm gunning at here is that, like, another planeswalker we haven't seen is like a giant planeswalker. By all accounts, a giant fits the criteria to be a planeswalker, and we've just never seen one. And there probably exists giant planeswalkers. There probably exists planeswalkers for everything out there, and they'll eventually make them all. But where I'm getting at is when Godzilla shows up on the field, I think even Nicol Bolas, who was just kind of like nonchalant about his whole plan and stuff like that, is confident, would take notice of a creature, which, let's be honest, even if we're going with the smallest version of Godzilla, is still over 300 feet tall. Bolas is only like 20. He's big. Bolas is big, but he's not 100 feet tall. He's not even like 50 feet tall. I think he's like in the 30-foot range or something like that. I don't know. How big is Nicol Bolas? That's a good question. How big is Nicol Bolas? Brings up Nicolas Cage. Gonna go see that on Thursday. Rick frickin' Cage! All right, Nicol Bolas. Oh, apparently there is actually there's a statue of him at 28 feet tall. Really? Let me see the statue. From Sideshow Collectibles. Uh, oh, that's a sexy statue. Oh, I should maybe let my girlfriend. I hit my girlfriend that I would like this, but it's $719. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna try to. I'm not gonna force her to get something like that expensive. I mean, she loves me and I love her, but I don't know if she wants to spend that kind of money on me, and I wouldn't blame her if she didn't. Oh man. But that, so it's 28 inches tall. Great. In lore, okay, wait, okay, in Duel of the Planeswalkers 2012, it says that he's 60 feet in length and 60 tons. Fair enough. Okay, so he's a big he's a dragon. He's big. That's not even a fifth. Wait, no, actually, that's not even a fifth of Godzilla's size. Nicol Bolas, if we're using me as the metric, and Godzilla's right at the top here. Nicol Bolas only comes up to about here on Godzilla. Now, Nicol Bolas will be the far more powerful individual between the types of magic he knows, including mind magic, all that, temporal magic, necromancy, all that good stuff. But Godzilla's got enough bulk and durability that he could probably even take hits from Nicol Bolas and dish back energy attacks with radiation. This would be probably the one individual besides Ugin that Nicol Bolas would have to go and deal with himself on a sheer power level basis. Like, this thing is might destroy a portion of Ravnica, but he might actually ruin my plans because the Eternals aren't going to be able to do crap against him. Even like Kefnet and all the zombie Eternals, zombie God Eternals, the God Eternals. They're minuscule. They're not even as big as Bolas is. Like the gods of Amonkhet were smaller than Bolas was. I mean, they're still big, like 20, 30 feet tall. I know they're like in their 20 or 30 feet range, maybe 40, but that makes them even smaller by comparison. And the only way you get a spark from a Planeswalker in the War of the Spark using the I can't remember the name of the spell. I have the card. I actually, no joke. When I bought a box of War of the Spark, I got Nicol Bolas, got the Nicol Bolas, and I got that a foil version of that card, which I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, Planeswalker deck, here I come. And I love my Planeswalker deck. It is yet to lose. But yeah, it's none of them would be able to kill Godzilla. His hide would be too thick, so they wouldn't be able to pierce him. Their magic probably would be very minimalistic. His hide might be like anti-magic. He probably has like a hexproof ability, I'd imagine, this version of Godzilla. Because his hide is just so thick. And we've seen actually that illustrated with other magic cards before. Creatures that have hides so thick that magic just bounces off them. Godzilla would qualify. So Bolas would actually have to really think of something because this thing's going to ruin his plans otherwise. So what I think you could probably have done is have Tezzeret basically, have him ask Tezzeret, I need you to do something for me. And Tezzeret basically opens the portal, gets Godzilla halfway through, and then he closes the portal on Godzilla and cuts him in half. And Godzilla, just before dying, basically just incinerates him quick and melts him down. Then maybe, but that's assuming because he's got to also factor that into, he's going to have to keep the portal open somehow as the Eternal Army keeps coming. I think really what would honestly happen is Bolas would most likely have to use some sort of mental manipulation on Godzilla just to turn him around, because he could tell this thing has intelligence, but it's a very primitive intelligence. Even Garruk is, or as I love to call him, Garruk. Even Garruk has a bit more base intelligence than this guy does. So he would most likely, of course, now that I think about Garruk was actually not a part of that storyline. That's right, he wasn't. In fact, I believe he was on Eldraine at the time. So yeah, I would certainly say that Godzilla being in Magic the Gathering wouldn't really play a big factor if he is a solo player and can't planeswalk. If he can planeswalk, then he's able to factor in some things. There could be an easy scenario, or a very easy scenario. There easily is a scenario where him and the Eldrazi go toe-to-toe with each other. And they're unable to kind of corrupt him, again, due to probably having a hexproof-like body. So it's really them going toe-to-toe in a physical confrontation. Unfortunately, like most of the Eldrazi have indestructible, at least the initial version of them, which is to illustrate their inability to basically be killed naturally. Now, if you were to exile them, it's a different thing entirely. But yeah, ultimately, Godzilla being in there would play a part. In fact, he'd be a big player in War of the Spark if he is at a Planeswalker. If he's not, there's that. But ultimately, he'd be a player. He wouldn't like be the one that you just call in to end everything, because even he isn't foul. He's not infallible. He can make mistakes and all that, and his power has limits. And really, he wouldn't have much except for his sheer size, power, and atomic breath. Atomic Pulse, Red Spiral, Death Ray. He's got a couple of energy-based attacks, but that's really it. He's just sheer power is what he is. But that is ultimately just my opinion. What do you think? Do you think Godzilla would play a bigger part in the Magic Gathering universe, or do you think that he, do you think it would be a very minor role? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. And I'll see you folks next time.